I'd like to greet everybody today with a universal greetings hand down from all the prophets, starting from Adam to every righteous prophet, every righteous messenger, male and female, child sent by God, called in sent by God. Hear what I said, called in sent. You see, everybody that's called to do God's work are not necessarily sent. In other words, when I took the paramedic course some years ago, I took the course and passed it with flying colors. But you see, that meant nothing. That just showed that I was academically inclined to pass a test of multiple choice and some practicals. But see, then you have to challenge and take a state exam to be licensed. If you failed that, this course that you took academically don't mean a thing, but you have a piece of paper. A lot of these preachers in this town got a piece of paper. You see what I'm saying? Saying that they was called. They went to all these universities and got master's degrees in theology. You was called to go do that. But God ain't certified you to do nothing, because if you're not standing up against injustice, is you're taking money out of putting money in your pocket from these individuals that you know corrupted, who's oppressing people of color, who's been doing it for decades in Southeast Missouri, especially here in Charleston, Missouri, for the 19 years that I've been here. Surely you wasn't sent to do the job. You see, God do not send individuals that's going to sell out. You see, Judas took a few pieces of silver. That's what y'all taking. Martin Luther King, in one of his speeches, he said he don't want none of them token handouts. You got tokens, taking tokens from the people that Paul in Philippians, the 3rd chapter, was talking about. And I'm going to read it to you for what the Apostle Paul wrote to the Philippians. This is Philippians chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. Listen to it carefully. Get your pen and paper if you don't have a good retaining mental ability to keep it in your mind. The title of it is, Paul gives up all things for Christ. Verse 1 of chapter 3 says, finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord. To write the same things to you, to me indeed is not grievous, but for you it is safe. Listen what he said, it is safe. He talking to us as believers. It is safe. Now look what chapter 2, verse 2 says. It's telling you something. And listen what the word it used. It said, beware. When somebody telling you to beware, when a person got a vicious dog in his house or in his yard, he gonna have a sign to give you a warning. Beware. Dogs are loose. If a person know, if you come in their house and get ready to harm them, they gonna have something outside saying, beware. Trespassing is not permitted. Trespassers will be dealt with by any means necessary. Listen what Paul says. This is not me. This is Paul, the apostle, the same one who used to crucify Christians back in the day. But God seen something in this individual that others, all they seen was a murderous spirit of the righteous. God stopped him in his tracks and showed him, told him something. He called him and he sent him. He turned him around. You see what I'm saying? He turned him around from that murderous spirit to speaking up. He said in the chapter, in verse 2, he said, beware of dogs. Beware of evil workers. Beware of circumcision. What is a dog, man? The Bible said a backslider is like a dog returning to his vomit. You see, a fool can't comprehend what the Bible's saying because it's in parables. But let me break it down. A backslider is like a dog returning to his vomit. In other words, you done got the light of God. You know what you got to do. But yet, you give up all that to return back to what you used to do. A dog returning to his vomit. When a dog regurgitates a vomit, he'll sit there and lick and he can eat it up. That's nasty. But he said, beware of dogs. Beware of evil workers. Beware of circumcision. Beware of evil workers. What is evil workers? A person that's in these public positions. A person that's getting this grant money that's saying no child left behind. A person that's getting this grant money saying that they represent a community. A person that's getting this grant money and supposed to be paying individuals money but taking their checks, having them sign it, and then giving them half of something that they earned fully. Evil workers. People who lie on a person that's doing right. Evil workers. What they did in Palmer, Missouri, just this April 2015, when the first black female mayor was sworn in, that's evil. They resigned. What they did to me when I tried to file a police report against a white bus driver who had been left alone with my child on the bus, they wouldn't allow me to file a police report. That's evil. That's evil. When you know my children's mother was out in the streets 3 days and 3 nights using heroin, and you come in my house at midnight, take my kids at gunpoint, 1 and 2 years old, and give them to her, help her get out of the state when my children is residents of Charleston, Missouri, been born and raised here. I had just as much legal rights as she did, but I was taking care of them. But you gave it to them, and she got away in Chicago, and I found them 70 days later in the jungles, in the urban jungles of Cabrini Green, living in the streets, just turning 2 and 3 years old. And the youngest one, when I brought her back down to Missouri and took her to St. Louis Children's Hospital, they took x-rays and said she had a half fracture on her elbow for a minimum of 2 weeks, running in the streets with a half fractured elbow. Do you know the pain my daughter was in? I experienced the pain for the 6-hour ride from Chicago back to Charleston, Missouri. Anybody know that ride? I had to ride with her in my lap because she couldn't sit in the car seat comfortably. She was crying. If she was crying for them 6 hours, imagine them 2 weeks or more in the streets. But yet these police come in my house with gunpoint and take them and give it to her. And they knew in advance what was going on with it, because if you go down to the police station, they came in my house a little bit after midnight on the 19th of May of 2008, and I had already made a police report because she left out of the house on the 16th of May of 2008, and I made a report on the 17th, which I have copies of it, saying her character, saying she out in the streets. I don't blame her. They took advantage of her addiction. She said they threatened her to lock her up if she didn't come say that I jumped on her, which no charges never was filed. No record of any charges. Just to try to get me to react, thinking I was going to react so they can kill me. I got paperwork to show it. I told the NAACP president here, who's been here for 20 years, I told every minister in this town, I told Lester Gillespie, I told Sherry Maxwell, all of them know about it, but they did nothing. I told them about what they allowed a white bus driver to do to my child, 5-year-old child, same child whose arm was broke, and nothing done about it. I have so much paperwork. I have a story to tell, and I know it's other people in this town have a story to tell about these corrupted officials, these corrupted people that's running these programs in Charleston, Missouri, off this grant money, working for Lincoln University and Suzanne Wesley Learning Center. Take a real close-up look what G&H Furnishing Company that just went out of business. Watch and see who they donated that building to. Watch and see who go into that building. We need help down here. If the people laid there and took and cleared all their computers after a black mayor won the mayorship in Palmer, Missouri, and they cleared their computers, what did they clear them for? Why is so many blacks who working in the police department and in the schools and city hall and the courts and in the jails is trying to attack me for protecting and standing up for me and my daughters and my daddy's rights? My 87-year-old daddy, who was in World War II, fought and sacrificed his life. He came from Charleston, Missouri. My cousins in the late 1960s drafted in the Vietnam War from Charleston, Missouri, who lost his life in the Vietnam War in 1970 fighting for this country. My uncle, who's buried in Bloomfield, Missouri, fought 2 tours in the Korean War. My niece's father fought in the Vietnam War. Several of my friends that I grew up in Chicago was in the Army and the Marines, fighting in these wars for justice, for peace. But there's no peace here. How could it be peace? And in 2007 through 2010, I'm working at Black Gold potato farms, and there's physical view that I took pictures of, KKK spray painted with black paint on light blue trash cans, one right in after another, KKK, and the middle one have KKK all the way around it. And when I complain about it, they tell me the K stand for kerosene. Anybody that know about chemicals, kerosene can't come in those type of containers. Come down here and have an open meeting for all 5,987 people in Charleston, Missouri, so you can hear the other voices that tell you how Lester Gillespie, Sherry Maxwell, and some of these other black leaders is being put in position to suppress individuals like myself that's speaking out. But see, I have documents. I'm not going to go cuss them out. I could have got an AK-47. I could have got an M16. I could have got a rocket launcher. I could have got hand grenades and went up to that school and assassinated that bus driver, assassinated the director of transportation for lying to the investigators, assassinate the assistant black principal who lied for them people, assassinated the principal who didn't even hear my complaint, assassinate that superintendent who didn't hear my complaint, assassinate everybody on the school board who refused to let me go to the school board to complain. Went down to the police department, the police lady who questioned my child without my permission, present or knowledge, trying to change her statement, what she said, what happened to her. We went down there and told them personally what happened, but they didn't make a police report. The police didn't even question the bus driver. And he had a knife and was left alone on the bus with my 5-year-old child. But yet, you blacks in these streets, you know who you are. If the shoe don't fit, don't wear it. But if it do, you wear it. You whispering in other people's ears. You don't know God got people that like me in this town because I speak up against y'all, black and white. I know everybody in this town ain't prejudiced, just like I know every black in this